Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of September 18th through the 24th. And this is a week of mainly sun activity, led by the sun actually changing signs into going into Libra, which is the Libra equinox time. So that will be a lot of what we're mainly talking about today. First, a couple things. Just to let you know, the Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do weekly on YouTube these days. Prior to that, it was a podcast, and prior to that, it was a written blog online. I've been doing it a long time, and if you do have a YouTube account and you like what you see, please become a follower. And when you do become a follower, don't forget to turn your notifications on so you know when I post the blog, which is usually every Monday, since it's a weekly astrological forecast for the whole world. And so also it is available still on podcasts too. If you prefer to do the podcast thing, there's really no need to see the video. Most of the time it's just me just talking to the camera. The podcast free you up to do it, to hear it in other places too. With any other device that you can get them on. So just look up the Astrological Winds channel on whatever podcast you're into. If you don't find it on one, I'm sure you'll find it on the other. It is distributed through Buzzsprout, and I think it's about 15 to 20 or so that pick it up every week. And also, if you have an Instagram account, I also post a link there. And become a follower of the Astrological Winds channel there too. I usually post some additional information during the week for certain key days, not in video or audio format. It's just some comments that you can look at really briefly for that day. Also post a link on Facebook. That is a private account. Friend me at Matthew, and that's with 2 T's, Lawton, Lauten. And it is a free blog, so what I ask for people to do to pay me back is to pass it on to someone else that you think might be interested in it. I really appreciate that. That's what gets the blog to grow in a really natural way. And also, I am a professional astrologer, so if you ever need any professional astrology services, please contact me. We can start up that conversation. There's no commitment. We can talk about it on email, and that's at matthuey823@gmail.com. I've been doing readings for over 20 years professionally after being trained to do all kinds of different readings. So whatever you're interested in, one more time, matthuey823@gmail.com. I'll give more contact info and more details at the end for those who are interested, but I'd rather get into the blog here and remind all of you one more time that if you're not very familiar with the astrological terms that I'm using, don't get stuck on them. You really want to hear the interpretations that lets you know the energy that's at work this week in the world and helps you to, surf with that energy in a more positive way, work with it, get it to work with you rather than against you. Okay, so like I said, the sun is really the main thing that's on a journey this week astrologically for us, and it starts right today on Monday, the 18th, when the sun does its annual opposition to Neptune. Once a year, the sun is opposite Neptune. And if you'll remember last week's vlog, I talked about the new moon in Virgo almost the whole time. And part of that makeup was the moon was opposite Neptune, and this is like a continuation of that energy. And just a little aside on that thing too, if you'll notice, as we went into the end period of the last new moon phase, which was the new moon in Leo, if you'll remember, and it was tightly square that Uranus, and I had said to you guys that especially with Uranus turning retrograde at the same time, Mercury being retrograde in Virgo during most of that time, that the natural disasters, things like that, would be extraordinary during that whole new moon cycle. I remember, and just the last couple things, just last week, this incredible flood that hit Libya, and once again, details not being taken care of, the dams really not being managed properly, and then having this extraordinary natural disaster under that new moon phase. It was square so tightly Uranus, which is the ruler of the natural disasters, and then even that hurricane that has stayed out in the Atlantic, but like grew so strongly. Lee is the name of this one. Grew so strongly that is giving torrential rain to the northeastern U.S., New England area, where they're saying like it was a 1 in a 200 year type of event, which I don't, that really is no longer valid numbers. Those numbers are, we've exacerbated situations. The earth is going through changes. So what is a 1 in 200 year event is no longer that. But that really shows, once again, like every week, it seems like since I did that new moon forecast, we've seen some extraordinary natural disasters. So that cycle is ended, but this Sun Neptune kind of is like, can continue that kind of energy, really, because, Sun Neptune, as far as like a weather thing, is a lot of wet weather on land, and especially with Neptune in Pisces, and the Sun is now in in this place is on in Virgo, so it's on an earth thing, so you can see like storms hitting the land, really, and that energy could continue this week and even in through this new moon cycle too, because of that Neptune energy there. But let's go back to that Sun Neptune in a general way. What really Sun Neptune can be about is a couple main things that you'll see this energy play out. And the first off is like kind of like being a lot of confusion brought to you by others, especially others that you're closer with, that you're intimate with, partnerships even on that level, misunderstandings, and therefore feeling kind of like demoralized idealistically by like the inability of like you to make connections well with others. You have to be really careful with this energy too, because it will have us retreat within. That's one of the reactions to, when you're not feeling, when you're in a confrontational energy with others and it's not working well, is to actually avoid, retreat, or to subordinate, and therefore become like a victim or a martyr to others and allow them to mislead you, to deceive you, to suck you into their own journey that is not based very well in reality. So it's a time that can be really confusing and demoralizing. And at the same time, on the same day, today, the Sun is also quincunx the North Node, which shows that also can be with people that we're in groups with, that we were sharing goals with, that we actually may have to separate ourselves from some of those people or groups and reassess the way we're approaching our own goals, and whether those people are actually, or groups are actually even being helpful, or whether they're actually being a hindrance, that they're not, taking us or helping us down the right road. That if anything, once again, they're adding to like a lot of confusion, which is demoralizing, which also is another thing of the Sun Neptune energy, is it can suck physical energy away. It can, bring us to that level. Now, Sun Neptune energy, though, on an opposition, can have a really positive influence too, and that is looking for people you have a spiritual type of connection with, or an inspirational connection with, or an artistic connection, a creative connection. Somehow on that level, it can be very idealistic, it can be very spiritual, but it may not fit very well in the reality of this world. But you can get a lot of comfort from one another, because it can be a very deep connection on higher energy or more subtle energy or psychic energy or supernatural energy planes. You can really make a deep, deep connection on those levels, and on levels that go beyond, and that can bring in the physical connection to one another too. So it can even create like partnerships that seem like soulmate kind of connections. It can even bring in romance on a very idealistic level. But whether any of this stuff will work out in the real world or is congruent with the way the real world is highly dubious. It may be something that's very contained within, that partnership that you have. Now, interestingly enough, today also there's a Mars quincunx Jupiter, which is a very different kind of energy than Sun Neptune, especially physically, because it gives a lot of actually active energy, a lot of exuberance, a lot of optimism about wanting to do certain things that do appeal to us, that are very like individualistic and honor our freedom and our individuality in some way. Now, I think what will happen here is it's going to intersect with the idealism of the Sun Neptune energy, and can have us really take what I would call like almost risks, or be overly optimistic or about the risks and actions we take, and because they're kind of be based on these ideals, and it's going to feed this optimistic energy and this subjective energy of the Mars Jupiter, and we may find ourselves like really off with our actions, that we find out that they're not really working well. But I think it's going to feed an over optimism where we may take risks that are beyond what we should be doing, and end up with scattered results that are not exactly what you are expecting, and actually have you maybe question your ideals, even where that's not really the issue. It's not that the ideals are wrong. It's that, just the way that you're approaching it is undisciplined and in an excessive way, and maybe a little bit too subjective, self-determined on the idealistic level, and therefore off. And in all honesty, I don't see a really good, clear answer in the real world today for this energy. Like, it may just have to be that way. Like certain times we're just not congruent with the reality of the real world. So it may just end up being that way today and tomorrow with this energy, and just realizing that, and just like trying to be a little bit careful about how far we take that thing, and remember, that kind of energy too, when we do something excessive, when we talk about our physical stuff, it can drain our energy. We can be, susceptible to injuries and illnesses and things like that. Now, Wednesday, the Sun trines Pluto. Now, remember, once again, very similar to last week's new moon, that trine Pluto is in that grand trine. And I said this was the applying thing. And this is a very positive energy. And it's in the critical degrees too, the 29th degree. So it's like very like higher graduated energy. And I think what we're going to find out, we all have influence and power somewhere over other people, no matter what our position is in the world. We have some influence and power over other people, and what we're going to find in this energy is we are like in that power, that we have some kind of authority and energy, and that we can move a lot of energy this week. We're very that we make a strong impression on those who we do have that power or influence over. And what's great about the trine is it has us really looking out to be almost like the good king. Like, not only are we benefiting ourselves with this power and influence that we have, but we're using it to benefit those around us and those that we have this influence and power over. So that's, that's what Pluto really likes. It wants us to do that, and it has us like really live our experiences deeply, to really get into what we're doing on a very deep level. So it's very very, very powerful energy where we can move a lot of stuff and do a lot of positive things for the world, and that is wanting to bring in creative transformation and change, and having a very laser-like focus and the ability to do that, and knowing how we're going to do that and live that, and get a lot of experience and knowledge out of that, and therefore have a lot of influence, a lot of ability to, get that messaging out there with the people that we have influence over. So I highly, highly recommend using this energy in a very positive way. And like I said last week, we can even take a lot of those ideals of that Sun opposite Neptune that I was just talking about that perfects on Monday, and once we, this is what can bring the discipline in that maybe Mars Jupiter didn't allow to happen on Monday in the middle of the week. We can get that focus and bring it in. Now, on Friday night, Saturday morning, the Sun goes into Libra, and this is when the Sun crosses into the second half of the zodiac. And there's this big shift away from the focus on mainly the self that started at the spring equinox, that now goes more into focusing on the other for the next 6 months with the Libra equinox. So and remember, that's always comes back to the self, because the other is always like, a reflection of something inside us, something that we all share, that we're all learning about. But when the Sun goes into Libra for the next month, the focus really becomes on relationships, on wanting to create harmony with others, on also making things more beautiful and harmonious in our environment. So it's very creative energy. We can tap into whatever we are artistic at, but we really put ourselves out there now. We want to go out into the world. We want to be within groups or in relationships and somehow have some attention coming to us, and therefore we beautify, ourselves and our surroundings. We, kind of start doing that dance where, that's, where we're trying to attract that attention. And Libra really wants everyone to feel happy and pleased and in harmony with one another, and sharing feelings of love and harmony and unity, and learns much from its relationships with others about the self. But here's the thing, Libra has this negative thing about being perceived as indecisive energy. And why is that? Because the projection so much on the self, from the self onto the other, and wanting to have harmony many times can create conflict within us. It may not be what we really want to do. We may not be honoring our real self. So inside, all of a sudden, we're getting indecisive about what we really want to do, because part of us really may want to do something else, whereas this Libra part is trying to please everybody else, which is not even possible in the first place. We need to please ourselves first, is what Libra needs to realize, and that's never going to please everyone else, but we need to honor ourselves first. So what that means is it brings in indecision at times. It makes it very difficult at times to decide what to do, because Libra really wants people to get along. And see, and the other part of Libra is, once we have an open realization that we can't get along with someone else, Libra is also the sign of open enemies. So this is when we, agree basically that we're in conflict with someone. This is something that's not, underhanded or ruthless. This is right out front. This is so no, it can exasperate situations like that. And when we see that a lot of times in the social world through war, basically, really, like there a lot of times Libra energy has a lot to do with great wars and the leaders of great wars, because once they know who the enemy is, Libra is a formidable enemy, but it is like, but it like is right out front with it. So very interesting energy with the Libra energy, and knowing that, it can't always please others, and sometimes that leads to open conflict, yet at the same time is trying to be that peacemaker and create that. Now, there's a couple other things that are third hits that happen on Friday, Saturday too, because both Venus and Mercury were retrograde all that time. Venus is going to do its third hit on a trine to Chiron, and that blends in really, really well with the sun going into Libra. Libra is one of Venus's signs, and so therefore the sun and Venus and Chiron are all going to work really well together this weekend coming up, and really can bring in some strong healing energy to relationships that maybe through the Venus retrograde period were a little bit shaky or off, or or sensitive or in pain or wounded. This can really bring that healing energy back, and the desire with the Libra energy to bring it back, to sit down, talk it out, find a way to move forward from there. Then the other third hit thing is Mercury, now also going direct, is going to have its third hit of being on the midpoint of the Pluto North Node square, which I talked about a couple times. So I'm just going to remind you, the two main ways that can come out is like very similar. We can use this energy with that Sun trine Pluto and have a very strong influence on other people, and be able to have a powerful influence on groups and the public with our words, with our thoughts, with our intellect, with the ideas we have, and make a strong impression and get really deep with it. But it also has that fine line of where is it turning into coercion, propaganda, pushiness, trying to get others to push. And we can see how this has played out in the last few weeks, with even the things involved with the courts and the different lawsuits with Trump, and the things that have gone on with that, and now the things with Congress and Biden, and all those things. Just really a lot of messy stuff when it's that negative part, when you're trying to coerce others. But definitely having strong ideas and being able to influence others is a strong part of this. So that's the last hit of that exact midpoint hit. And then there's also some interesting energy on the weekend involving Mars and Chiron. Mars is opposite Chiron this weekend, so we have to be very careful physically this weekend. Mars is also sesquiquadrate Saturn at the same time, and both those aspects show that overdoing it physically can lead to injuries, accidents, or being susceptible to illnesses, that our bodies can come under attack and then get stuck, and be and need some time for some healing. So that's one part. But the other thing about Mars Chiron is it can also play into that negative part of the Libra energy, where we have open warfare with people who we perceive as our enemy, people who we perceive are trying to stop us or block us in some way from doing what we want to do. We can get very irritated and angry and upset with those people and really take it on one-on-one. And a lot of it could be authority driven too, or the rules and regulations and procedures of society. Some of it, because what's going on also is the sun is quincunx Saturn and the square Vesta. So that shows that we could be just feeling like, hey, the way reality is, the way structure and form in reality is just so off with what's going on right now that it's like, just painful. And then we perceive the authorities or the groups who are continuing to push certain behaviors and ritualistic behaviors that, maybe have become no longer something that's thought about clearly, but they're just doing out of instinct or repeating patterns, copying for so long that, that they're not questioning that. And it's keeping our ability to do what we want very narrow. And therefore, once again, can feed into a negative thing by making us feel very unconfident about the things that we believe in. And that can feed the Mars part of feeling very angry and upset and irritated by those who we perceive as doing that. So this is a very tricky energy this weekend with the Mars, Chiron, and Saturn. And we have to be very careful about overreacting to this energy and hurting ourselves. And I'll be honest with you, really the best way to deal with this energy, it's like we can be too stuck in our ways. And reality is we can be too rigid, even if we're overreacting. We're overreacting from a place of rigidity, of old things. So what we kind of need to do here is kind of almost let go or loosen up some of that stuff and a little bit other something new in, maybe something, another way of looking how we can be motivated, looking how, we can, deal with what the reality of things are right now without getting so risky or reactionary to what's going on. So it's an interesting challenge on that end. But I really think, the good things this week is we are going to start to seek out connection with others and really try to bring harmony in, but to also be in this level of having some power and influence over others that can possibly appeal to a lot of those ideals that we're, that we're really into. But the energy is bumpy if we're going to try to push it in any way, if we're going to try to be coercive in any way. What we really need to do is work on the healing of the relationships first, and doing that by sharing whatever good we can in the influence zone that we have in our lives, no matter how small or large that is. I think that's really the way to skate this week, because it's a little bit, there's a lot of flow, but there's also some whirlpools here and there that you get stuck in and really hurt yourself if you end up getting sucked into the vortex or hole of that. But there's a lot of ability here to also start to reconstruct, rebuild, find harmony in relationships, but doing that through our own power that can help others, and basically that just comes right back to us and helping ourselves. And so yeah, that's what I got for this week. This is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Wings channel. This is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. And if you have a YouTube account, I'd really like you to become a follower. That would be really cool if you like what you see, and join the club, and then turn on your notifications when you do that, so that you know when I post the blog every week. Also, like I said, it's me talking to a camera. No reason really to watch me. Podcasts free you up to check out the forecast in other ways, like when you're driving around, to work, or working out at the gym, or taking a walk, or whatever. So it's available on all kinds of podcasts, is my point. And the way to find it is to just look up Astrological Winds channel on, say Apple iPodcasts, and it's distributed by Buzzsprout, so it's out there on a lot of different ones. So that's another way to get it. Also, Instagram. If you have an Instagram account, I'd really like you to become a follower there too. It's not only because I post a link there, but I do post extra stuff in there during the week. Like there's some key days here and there. Like last week there was some key days, and so it's good to know on certain days, wow, why am I feeling like so much like down this hole or something? Oh, okay, that's the energy of today. So there's some extra stuff, and it's not audio or video, so there's not a big commitment. It's just like reading a couple sentences. Basically, it takes a few seconds. So really like you to do that too. The one other place I post the link every week is on my private Facebook account. If you'd like to become a friend, friend me at Matthew, and that's with 2 T's, Lawton, Lauten. And remember, that's mainly what I use Facebook for. I don't really socialize much else on it, just so you know that. And remember to pass the link on to somebody else. That's really important to me. It's the way I've gotten the blog to grow over the years, and especially the last couple of years, post-COVID, it's been very helpful. I think, going into this age of Aquarius, I've said it before, we're all trying to support what we all do uniquely the best, and I really love you to pay it forward that way. And excuse me, the best way you can pay it forward, though, is I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing readings professionally for over 20 years. Was trained and went to schooling, passed exams for 7 years to do them professionally. Did my own self-study for 8-9 years before that. So very well versed in astrology. I would really love to do your chart, or someone else's that who's looking at their chart done by a professional astrologer, which is a big difference between opening a book or getting a computer printout or having a friend who has some interest in astrology doing it for you. Now get a lot deeper. This is you. This is you. Value yourself. You should know your chart well. Doesn't mean you need to know the astrology of it. It means you need to know the energies that you're working with in your life. It's going to be with you wherever you go. And it's really important to know that. I really believe you can make your life a lot better than a crapshoot when you know your chart well. Also, every year around your birthday, get a predictive reading for yourself. Give it to yourself as a birthday present. You're worth it. It's the same thing I'm doing every week on this blog, except it's specifically for you for the year. And I know a lot of people go through hard times, and they can really feel like they go down a hole, and it's like those times are going to end. They're going to change. Other things are going to come up. The story continues. So every year you can get a reading and help you navigate that year once again by knowing the energy that's going on, and help you to make better choices, to be more self-fulfilled, self-determined. I also do relationship charts, children's charts. I also do fixed star readings for people who know their natal chart well and are looking for deeper soul purpose in their life and what's going on that level. And also do relocation astrocartography if you're looking to move somewhere else. Horary, if you have some question you just can't seem to get the answer to, it's really emotionally in you. And sometimes we can find a chart that'll give us the answer to that. Elections, for when you're doing something really important, getting married, starting a business, getting the best day and time on that day to start that can really tilt things in your level. Also have beginners classes available, and if you have a group that's interested in an astrology class or lecture or a workshop, a mini question and answer session, or mini readings for an event that you're doing, some kind of entertainment like that, please, party, things like that, just let me know. Give me an email, start the process up, matthue823@gmail.com. There's no commitment in contacting me, and had so many great experiences with so many people over the years. I'd like the next one to be with you. So once more, it's matthue823@gmail.com. Okay, so next week we are going to have a full moon, and that is going to be at 6 degrees Aries. I also look for a little auxiliary blog at some point in the next few days on the equinox chart set for Washington D.C. I'll look to see I'll look at the U.S.'s next 3 months. I briefly looked at it already, and there's going to be a lot of energy focused around President Biden in the next 3 months. So, all right, I will see you all next week. Please pass that link on. Thank you so much for tuning in.